What's going on, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of Seen But Not Heard, where we will feature music from Troglodyte, Daigoro, and a little interview with Michael Klein, who builds the pedals to the stars. Super fucking cool guy. Cannot wait for you guys to get to know him a little better. We had a great fucking talk, so stay tuned. Moving on. Daigoro. This is a band from Minneapolis. Super cool fucking, just extreme fucking metal. Just enjoy the shit out of it. Autoerotic assimilation. In my many years of travels, I've seen shows, playing shows, yada, yada, yada. I've seen some shit, I've done some shit, and on this particular occasion, I damn near took a shit. We were playing a show here in town in Moorhead, Minnesota at a bowling alley, All-Star Bowl, and I was with the band Necktie Suicide at the time. And the singer, AJ, one of my good friends, decided to take me out for a pre-celebration meal. We went to Buffalo Wild Wings. I had a couple beers, had some wings. It was delicious. Lo and behold, it was not good on the old stomach. Well, we're about 2 or 3 songs into the set. I'm guessing it's been a long time, but I had just the worst stomach rumbles, and I thought I was going to shit my pants. Luckily enough, I did not shit my pants, but it was the worst smelling gas I ever had. It cleared out the front row of the stage. My fellow bandmates were confused and angry, and I'm just playing it off like, oh, what the fuck, man? That's gross. That's nasty. And I remember I got busted finally when AJ was down on one knee about to bellow out some lyrics, and I let one rip by his head by accident, and he was not impressed. Neither was anyone there at the show. But moral of the story, kids, do not drink light beer and eat buffalo wings before going on stage. It will not agree with you, and no one will be impressed. So, little life tip for you there. Cheers. Hey there, everybody. I'm here with Michael Klein, pedal builder to the stars. How you doing, buddy?
Good.
So, you came under my radar after Sammy got Instagram, which was an amazing feat in itself. I'm a huge Acrobat Goat fan. So, he was talking about first the Lonely Ghost pedal, which piqued my interest.
Yes.
And then you ended up building him his custom D-book or die-buck?
So, I'm not totally sure how it's pronounced. It's either Dybbuk or Dybbuk. I'm not sure. I don't speak Hebrew. It's Hebrew in origin.
Okay.
But yeah, Sammy's pedal.
I should know that stuff. I studied stuff on like demons and the forbidden ancient ones and all that, but I'm also an idiot from Moorhead, Minnesota, so I don't know how to pronounce shit. But like I said, those pedals really grabbed my attention, and like I'm a guitar player. I'm not much of a pedal guy yet. I'm starting to build up my collection.
Yeah.
But so how did you get into this whole business?
Oh God. So I started building, so it's 2021. I started building probably like 17 years ago.
Okay.
So I started building after I graduated from college when I had a little more free time, but I still didn't have any money, and I couldn't afford the stuff that I wanted. When I was in high school, I took all the like tech and electronics courses that our high school offered, and one of the projects we did was, and I would give anything to have it back, but it was a Project Fuzz pedal that we ordered from some catalog, would have been in like 97, 98.
Okay.
And my friend did one too, and we built them in those plastic like baseball card, football card containers that open and close and stuff. That was the closest thing we could find for it, and and obviously they had all the tone, as you can imagine. But that was like the first thing I did, and that was a super cool experience. But in that class, like I learned how to solder and learned basic electronic stuff.
Okay.
So there was like a little bit of background, but my really good friend and I just he was actually the one that had the guts kind of take apart, I think it was a Boss DS1,
Okay.
and messing with it. And I was like, oh man, that looks really fun. I think I'm going to have to try this too. And sure enough, like we started buying like Boss pedals and just modding them and stuff like that. That would have been like probably 2004. And then we both got kind of bored with modding pedals pretty quickly. So then we started trying to build pedals, which was a huge failure for me for a long time. It probably took 4 or 5 times to build a pedal from scratch to get it to work right. But it was, like a tube screamer, nothing complicated. So I started sort of building kind of kits, and but I really wanted to like learn more about what influences sound and things like that. And just by chance, I met through the internet one of the guys that was part of the Runoff Groove team. And Runoff Groove, I don't know if you've heard of them. They were a group of do-it-yourself pedal designers. Some of them were electronics engineers, some of them not, but they all were very competent. And a lot of their designs ended up getting, you could say, either used or influenced or whatever, a lot of pedals on the market. But that guy was he was so gracious at like answering all my questions, and he taught me so much. And the job I had at the time, I had so much free time. So I would when I wasn't working, I would read and try and learn and teach myself as much as I could and ask him questions. And my friend and I would learn things from each other. And I started to move pretty quickly to like trying to design the stuff that I wanted, because like modding stuff just wasn't cutting it, like modding existing designs. And then it just kind of went from there. I never intended to build for anyone other than myself. It was a dream, but it was never planned. And I can't remember when it was, but I mean, we could figure it out by looking up the tour, but there was a tour that had Napalm Death, Exhumed, Voivod, and I think one other band.
Was that the Municipal Waste one? Were they on that one?
No, it wasn't, at least the date I was at.
Okay.
So I am a huge Exhumed fan and huge fan of Matt Harvey. And, after their set, this was in Lawrence, Kansas, he was just hanging out, and I was like, I just need to thank him for, Exhumed and everything. Yeah. And just talking to him, and he was a total dude, like just as nice and sweet and funny as could be. And we ended up talking for a while, and at this point, I don't remember how it came up, but we exchanged emails because I had talked about building something for him. So he was probably like the first, well, he would have been the first professional musician that I built for. And what he asked for was something that had the distortion channel from an Ampeg VH140C. Okay. And a clean channel and reverb. So that pedal became the Executioner, which I've only built one of. Sent it to him, and then it just kind of progressed from there. He dug it, and then he had some other ideas. They just timing wise, when they would come through Kansas City, would always meet up and hang out with him and stuff, and it just kind of went from there. And so at the time, Sebastian Phillips, he hadn't like officially joined Exhumed, but Baz and Matt had this idea for a pedal that was a delay and a reverb and a boost for solos that you could just step on and it would be total solo tone. I was like, oh yeah, that would be really cool. And that idea is what became the Lonely Ghost. They have the first ones that I built.
Very cool.
And yeah, so it's like, it was all just happenstance. And I've had so many people ask, like, why don't you have a website and stuff like that? And I still don't think of this as a business.
Okay.
Like I do it because it's fun. And it's cool because it's so different than what I do for a career, or, day work that, who doesn't love music, who doesn't love making noise, and it lets me, just think about things differently than I do during the day and stuff. So like the whole thing's a total trip to me, that anyone has been interested in the stuff that I do. And then, getting to build for people whose music that I'm a huge fan of is just, it's crazy. I feel so thankful, to have been able to do that.
So it's kind of, in a way, like me being a low-level musician, a regional musician, if you will. You're shocked when you get added on bigger bills and become friends with these people and talk shop with them. It's kind of a very enlightening yet humbling, and it's a cool experience,
Absolutely. And, like you've probably experienced with that, you realize people that you really admire are just as normal as they get too. Some people I've had these sort of larger than life ideas in my mind of what they were like, and they're just dudes.
It's crazy. When you say that, me and my girlfriend, when this was going on, the 70,000 tons of metal, that cruise where they'd have 60 metal bands from all around the world and 3,000 metal fans, we'd go on that every year. So we did 5 or 6 of them, and ran into Corpse Grinder and the guys from Carcass. Goat Whore was on there one year. But yeah, when you just run into these people in a non-show setting, just at the bar or at the buffet, I fanboy out. I'm not gonna lie, I'm one of those guys that's just ooh.
Me too. Yes.
But then they're just hey, I'm a normal dude. I also like Merciful Fate. Let's talk about that. Stuff like that. And one of my favorite memories was it was after Goat Whore played on the 70,000 tons. We've seen Goat Whore probably 15, 20 times in our lifetime. I mean, we love the band. So we've seen them anytime they come to Minneapolis, or we have to travel a little bit. But so we ran into Sammy and we're like, hey, we're going to go get some food. And he's like, yeah, I'll come with you. And we're sitting at the table, and me being just a drunk idiot, I like to make a lot of puns, if you haven't noticed on my Facebook and all that.
You have some sick puns, bro.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Sick puns.
Sammy and I started punning back and forth at each other, and after...
Yeah, he's a mean punter, too.
I've noticed. I did not know that till that day. And
oh, yeah.
When we parted ways after that, when he's like, all right, I got to go run and do whatever, I was just sitting there with this big shit-eating grin on my face, and Christine's like, that was probably the most horrible thing I've had to sit through. You just drunk punning. Hey, I'm glad I mustered the courage to give you this. Well, let's catch up later. But like you said, it was just that.
Oh, it's so good.
It was that it's moments like those where, like you said, like a normal person like me who works a fucking 9 to 5 job, well, a 4 p.m. to 2 a.m. job since I DJ at a strip club. But, you know, I work full time and I don't tour around the world, but getting to like meet these people and talk shop with them and just, it's so cool. I mean,
I think at least in the music you and I enjoy, I think there's by and large a common thread of generally really good people making that music, which is it's definitely a much tighter knit community than I would have guessed, and that's been one of the like cooler things to get to see and know. Like, this guy knows this guy, they're friends with this guy, and this guy knows this guy, and like they go way back, and
yep.
And you know, for the most part, I think they all really respect and appreciate each other, and that's, you know, really cool. I don't know that it's not something that I thought about, but man, I certainly can see how it wouldn't be that way.
Right.
So, for it to be that way, I think, you know, is a testament to the quality of the people making that music. And people outside metal, you know, they like think of it as super aggressive, angry music, which it is, but that just because you make angry music doesn't mean you're a spiteful, angry person. And in fact, more often than not, you're actually just kind of a geeky.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Nerd, like stop being 12 years old, you know.
I have a whole basement filled with action figures and Superman comics and Punisher comics. Oh, nice. My ex-wife threw away all my He-Man shit.
He looks over me with every pedal build. So this one's really weird. This one has a lot of personal significance. He's also a He-Man figure. I think his name's King Cobra. So what's special to him about me is when I was a kid, I had really, really bad eye problems.
Okay.
And I remember after my first trip to the ophthalmologist, the specialist in Wichita, Kansas, I was 3. So they, you know, dilated the piss out of my eyes, and my eyes were already screwed up, so I couldn't see anything. So my mom took me to Target afterwards to pick out a toy, you know, and I couldn't see anything. And I still remember standing in the aisle where the He-Man toys were and just bawling because I couldn't see any of them. And my mom's like trying to calm me down, and she's reading the names of the figures, and I'm like, King Cobra. So, and I actually found this dude just a couple months ago. He has a lot of personal meaning to me. So yeah, cool. I'm just a huge nerd. I've got all sorts of weird stuff here in my shop. So yeah, I can empathize totally.
And like you said, that's just the cool thing about us. Like, I mean, even like my buddies who live in town, who tour the nation, whenever we hang out, it's just total nerd talk. And, you know, for us, our big thing is we'll argue who's the best singer for Anthrax, who's the best frontman for Van Halen. You see all that stuff go down. That's real talk that we've been fighting for like 20 years.
So who is the best vocalist for Anthrax?
John Bush. 100%. I will die on that hill. And for this reason and this reason only. It took Anthrax.
Is that also your favorite era of Anthrax?
Yep. And I'll tell you why.
Interesting.
Because my first Anthrax album was Sound of White Noise.
Mine too. How old are you?
I am 40.
Oh, me too. Yeah, my first Anthrax album, what got me into Anthrax was hearing Only on the radio. And I got that for Christmas. And Yeah, so then probably like you worked backwards.
Yep.
After getting that album, loved the riffs, had a hard time with the vocals. Yeah, so John Bush is my favorite Anthrax vocalist, which I know I'll get a lot of shit for.
I got you back on this one.
My favorite Anthrax era would be the pre-John Bush era, but I think John Bush is a much better vocalist and suits their sound better.
And see, with me, like I love metal in general. I don't hate old Anthrax. I love giving my buddy shit about this Anthrax thing for days. I'll do it till I die. But like I said, when I heard that album, The Sound of White Noise, for the first time, it was dark. It was heavy. I mean, not like the old shit wasn't heavy, but it was heavy in a different way. It was slower. Totally. It was just more like evil sounding. I mean, you go from like party thrash to that, you know?
Well, and I think, you know, I had that experience with a lot of bands. Like another band, which is still one of my favorite bands ever, is Sepultura.
Yep.
The first Sepultura album I got was Chaos AD.
Same here.
Which is a very, very different sound for them compared to, obviously, like Arise, Beneath the Remains, you know, Morbid Visions, Bestial Devastation, all that stuff, Schizophrenia. But my first exposure to Sepultura was Chaos AD. So I think for a lot of the guys that were more familiar with bands when they were playing faster stuff, when they started to play slower, heavier stuff, it turned them off. Whereas, like, I was introduced to a lot of those bands when they were kind of slowing down.
Same.
And so I have a different appreciation for it. And man, still, I don't know how many years later, Chaos AD is my favorite Sepultura album. Like, it is one of the heaviest albums ever made.
Amazing.
It's so stupidly heavy. And I can understand where some guys would be like, you know, Beneath the Remains, man, which, yeah, that album's amazing too. But I think, like, a lot of the bands that played faster, whether it's thrash or death or thrash death or whatever, when they slowed down, just created some insanely good stuff that is different. But I think The Sound of White Noise is another album like that, and I haven't listened to that for too long, which I'm gonna listen to after this.
And so, like, for me, I was raised strict Catholic. I went to Catholic school from kindergarten to 6th grade. So my first introduction to metal was Def Leppard when I was 7, and that's what also got me into playing guitar. But then, you know, we finally convinced my parents to get MTV when I was, like, you know, around that same time. And so I wasn't able to hear, like, the death metal and stuff like that. So the first actual metal album I ever owned was Metallica's Black Album. And people give me shit that I still love that album. But if it wasn't for that album, I would not be listening to the bands that I listen to today. So I understand people are like, oh, it's not fucking thrash. Well, dude, it's a great introduction for a kid who's fucking 10 years old.
Yeah, right. And honestly, even though, again, just like I was saying, yeah, it's not Ride the Lightning or Master of Puppets, but you cannot tell me that the Black Album is not a fucking masterpiece.
Oh,
it's not the album I go to listen to in that catalog, but that, like, if you think about the quality of songwriting and how stupidly catchy that album is, it's insane.
Right.
And yeah, like I said, it's by no means what I go to, but I don't know. I think because, like you, I got introduced to metal at a very different time in metal. I'm much more tolerant of that sort of stuff, whereas, like, the OGs, I guess, would be like, nah, fuck that stuff. It's out there, man.
And I'll defend it to the day I die, because I fucking, like I said, I love metal, as long as it's not a complete shit album like Load or something like that. But, so, with all this, did you are you like an actual guitar player? Have you been playing for a long time, or are you just into the pedals?
Yeah. So I started playing guitar when I was probably 13.
Okay.
And again, the friend I was talking about before, he and I have been like best of friends since we were 5. But we were listening to his uncle's Sabbath Bloody Sabbath LP, and we were both like, holy shit, this is heavy. We were starting to listen to like old Metallica and Sepultura and stuff like that. But I think that was like the first time I had really sat and listened to Sabbath that wasn't on the radio. And then I don't remember how it came up, but he got out his dad's old guitar and little practice amp that was covered in carpet, had a 6x9 speaker in it.
All right.
When we discovered distortion on it, I was like, oh, I need to get me some of that.
Right.
And that's what changed it for me. So like at that time we were listening to Sabbath Bloody Sabbath and Kill 'Em All. And then I remember talking to my parents. I had been playing saxophone. Was like, I think I'm done with this. I want to play guitar. They literally laughed at me, bless them. But they thought it was funny that I wanted to learn how to play guitar. But yeah, they ended up supporting me. They helped me sell my sax, and I used some of that to buy my first guitar, which was in 1980 Ibanez Blazer.
Okay.
Which is like ash Strat style. It was in pretty bad shape. But yeah, and man, I got a tab book for Black Sabbath. I think it was called Black Sabbath Anthology or something.
I think I remember that one.
Purple with a cover with a big picture of Iommi in black leather and black custom SG, just fucking God right there. And tried to learn everything in that. Was learning Metallica, stuff like that. But yeah, like I played a lot in up to college. Then I kind of had to stop for a couple years because I didn't have a place to play.
Yeah.
And then after college, started playing again. I gave lessons for a while, which was a really cool experience. That was a lot of fun, especially because a lot of the students were like just learning guitar. So that was fun to share that with them. And then when I went back to school after that, I didn't have much time to play. Finished all that. We moved to Kansas City, I think about 8 or 9 years ago. 8.
Okay.
Got to play more. Got to play a lot more. But as interest in pedals have picked up, my time to play has really decreased, which is okay. I'm still having fun. And I still, after every pedal I build, I burn in for a while, and then I test and stuff like that. So I still get to play, but it's a bit more rushed and choppy than I would like. But
so what are you playing through right now?
Huh?
What are you playing through right now? What kind of guitar and gear are you using?
So I have I bought a few guitars last year.
Nice.
I've never done that, but I kind of went through sort of a midlife crisis type thing and bought some 80s BC Riches.
Yeah.
None of the USA ones. I'm not dropping that cash, but they're the Nagoya ones.
Okay.
So as far as more metal-oriented guitars, let me see here. I've got a Flying V, a 84 BC Rich Vitch.
Nice.
Make Roya. An 83 Magenta Mockingbird. That is super sick. I think it's an 86 NJ ST3. I'm pretty sure it's one of the Korean made ones.
Okay.
But that's like a super strat. Pretty cool. And then I bought I think they're technically called Professional. It's a Jackson. See you, dude. So it's a Japanese-made Jackson from the 90s. It's a Rhodes. And then I bought a kind of a parts caster Sammy put together that is way better than it should be, but is just super sick.
Was that the one that he was playing around on, or is that a secret project that he just did for you?
No. This is one that he kind of did for himself.
Okay.
Just killing time, with quarantine and stuff. And something about the way it looked, like it's covered in stickers, it's ugly, but it fucks kind of hard. And like he had mentioned that he was thinking about selling it. It's like, dude, I'd be interested in buying it. So that's how I got that one.
Nice.
My favorite guitar was built by my friend. He's a luthier. He's actually married to my wife's second cousin. His name's Danny Corwin. He has a shop in Topeka, Kansas. Okay. That thing's my baby. It's not a metal guitar, but it's my best sounding and playing guitar. So I have way more guitars than I've ever owned in my life, and I feel constantly guilty about it. And then as far as amps, so I have two that I designed and built. One's more for rock. It's like about a 20-watt EL84 amp, loosely Vox-based. Okay. And I have a 2-channel amp that I built for myself that's kind of my gold standard. That's an original design. I gutted and rebuilt that thing probably like 6 times until I was happy with it. And then I have a old PV Butcher.
Oh shit.
Which, those things are, find of the century. I got a matching PV Butcher half stack for $275.
Jesus.
On Facebook. Now, granted, the head didn't work, but I repaired it. That was crazy.
Good Lord.
And then I've got a Randall RG80 EX that I picked up this year for research for something that I hope to release pretty soon here.
Cool.
So I have more stuff than I've ever owned, and I do feel kind of guilty about it because I don't get to play it as much as I would like. But I've also learned, like I'm sure you have, selling things when you need the money always leads to regret.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I've kind of promised myself I'm not going to sell guitars or any of that stuff because inevitably I regret it and just come up with that money somewhere else.
I had an Ibanez JPM 100. It was the first series, the first line of the John Petrucci series back in like 95 or 96 when they released those. They only made 100.
Painting?
Yep, it was the Picasso.
Yeah.
Yep, they made 100 of them, I believe, in that first run with a JPM 100. And it was a limited run, I know, but I got one of them. And in hard times in the mid-2000s, I sold it. And now, 1, they're really hard to find, and 2, they're like triple the price. And I kick myself every day. Every fucking day.
Yeah, mine that crushes me was when I was let's see. Oh no, I know exactly when I got it because I went and picked it up 2 days before my 21st birthday. I had ordered a USA Jackson soloist that I saved up for like 3.5 years for. Ordered it through Drum City Guitar Land. It is like, the perfect super shredder. Neck through USA Jackson quality, trans black, flame maple. I had them put EMGs in it because that was my jam at the time.
Nice.
And it was when we were in Kansas City, so probably 8 years ago. I mean, we were just completely broke, and sold that and some other stuff that I wish I had back, but not nearly as bad as that Jackson.
Oh,
that thing was so sick. But yeah,
it hurts so much. And like now I've learned how if I am in financial times, like, you know what, I'm just not gonna buy food for a while just because I will not fucking sell my guitars. I can't do it, man. I can't fucking do it.
Yeah, it always leads to heartache. Like, you just can't do it.
And like people like you and me and the other fellow gear enthusiasts that'll listen to this, they'll understand. Other people are like, well, why not just get another one? I mean, you have one V. Why don't you just play the other V? Well, because they're fucking different in so many ways.
They're different, and like, with this stuff, you get strangely personally connected to them. They especially with guitars, man, they all have their own like soul or personality or something. I know that sounds super cheesy, but man, like when you have one and you love it, it's really, really hard to let go.
Exactly. And like right now, my most prized piece of gear is actually my PV XXX head that me and my dad purchased when I had my midlife crisis at the age of like 20, and I sold all my guitar gear. And at the age of 21, he hid a couple guitars for me because he hid the JPM and another Ibanez USA Custom, which I was just like, hold on, I'm going to hold on to these for you. But we bought this XXX together because he's like, I want you to get back into music. So I've had this thing since, and it blew up the night that Cannibal Carlton and I were playing a show together for the first time. His band was opening for mine, by the way. Yeah, that's right. But I've always given him shit, like, because I'm a PV guy. I'm like, oh, this fucking XXX is going to blow your Kemper out of the water. I fucking turn it on and just nothing. And so I was like, well, shit. And I've had this thing for so long, and it's been through hell and back. I mean, literally hell and back. So my buddy who fixes amps and shit, he takes a look at it, and he's like, I don't know, man. It might just be best to find something else because this thing is fucked. Well, he called in his buddy, and about a month ago, they came and dropped it off. They're like, it's not dead. We completely redid it, and it sounds fucking better than ever. And it sounds better than my other XXX that has never left my house. So I have it back. It's fucking in. I never want to lose this fucking head. So
yeah, that's awesome. Like, the sentimental value of something like that far outweighs everything else.
Oh, this thing has recorded every album. It's done every live show I've ever played since I was 20, which is a lot. So yeah, I mean, I don't ever want to fucking lose that. And I'm going to keep on treating it like shit because it's a PV and they fucking can take it. So in another 20 years, I'll have to fucking repair it again. But yeah, it's sentimental value.
And this is something I've had to take my words back, like, especially the 80s PVs, dude, some of those amps are so good.
Yeah.
And the even like the 70s stuff where they were experimenting a lot more with the solid state stuff, one of the best amps I have ever heard. Now, granted, it's not a heavy sounding amp. It's a totally clean amp. Mm-hmm. Was an amp that I repaired this summer. I think it was called a Session 400. Had a 1x15 and was just made to be as loud and clean as possible. But that thing, like, you would play whatever, and it was clean, but it would go into octave feedback like a cranked high gain tube amp would.
Okay, nice.
I've never experienced anything like it, and that's just like good design. There's like the PV Butcher, the VTMs, the the Roadmaster. Those things all fuck super hard. You know, I'm not a 5150 guy, but like you can't say that those haven't put their stamp on high gain tone. You know, like
that was my first head I ever got when I was like 13. It was fucking insane. The thing.
You had a 5150 as a 13-year-old?
Yeah. My dad and I made a deal. My dad's been super supportive of my music career. From the age of 7 to 13, I had gone through 4 guitar instructors that I had learned until I finally met the one who's like, I'm going to teach you. I'm like, the other guys were trying to push like Rolling Stones tunes on me. I'd learn it like the lesson. I'm like, I want to learn Dream Theater. They're like, how about more Led Zeppelin? I'm like, no, I want to fucking learn Dream Theater. So my dad saw my love of this instrument, and I was practicing. When I got done with school, I'd practice from 3:30 to 9:30 p.m. Just sit in my fucking room and practice. So he's like, well, you're obviously serious about it because this has been going on for like 6-7 years. So that year he bought me an Ibanez USA Custom and a 5150 half stack. And within 2 years, I had joined a band where the members were 10 years older than me. And we were like opening up for like Coal Chamber and fucking Stuck Mojo, all this shit. Like, so he's been personally like responsible for pushing me to be a better musician and like getting me the gear I needed to like land these gigs. Because my other friends who are like 15, 16, 13 years old, they have the little Rage 158s. My dad's like, no, we're getting you the good shit. But I put the work in, so it wasn't like I was just because we're not rich at all. I mean, dude, we're a fucking paycheck to paycheck family, but he saw the potential, and you know, he ever since until the day he died pushed me to fucking just keep on focusing on music, and I'm still doing it. 40 years old.
That's so cool.
I'm super blessed, and I hate that word because I'm not fucking religious, but to have such a strong, supportive father to push me to be, like I said, a better musician and use it for good and not evil. Because I'm like the most humble motherfucker you'll ever meet. Like, I always hate like people like, oh, you should like challenge that guy to a guitar off. I'm like, fuck no, I don't do that shit. That's fucking stupid.
I've never. Now, granted, I've never been good enough to do stuff like that. But yeah, like competitive guitar playing, like. Especially which seems to have become worse with YouTube and social media. Like, who can sweep the fastest? Who's doing the craziest tapping shit? Like that sort of cock swinging stuff is it's no good.
It's ridiculous. And I've been teaching now for about a year, and my students range from I have a 5-year-old student, and I think my oldest student is 29.
Yeah.
So I have these younger kids because I have about 10 students now, and about 8 of them are under the age of 13. And teaching them that kind of stuff, like, you know, it's not about who's the fastest or who's the most popular. It's about who puts the most work into it, who puts the most soul into it. And like, I always tell them, be humble. I don't care if you can fucking shred Satriani stuff at the age of 13. We're going to get you there, but don't rub it in people's faces. Keep that shit personal. I mean, I want you to be good musicians, and I want you to be a better person.
Right. Yeah. Like, I think, you know, doing music for the right reason always results in better stuff. And man, how how many people in metal went into it for the money,
right?
Went into it for the fame, you know, like they're in it because that's what they love. And I think that is that goes back to what we were first talking about. You know, it just reflects on just sort of the quality of people in the community, which is just so cool.
And it's if people can keep on like pushing that message that it's about the music, man. I mean, like you said, if it was about the money, I would have tried to be a doctor. I'm not going to say I could have made it, but I would have fucking tried to do something else because I'm more in debt than anything. Like, you know, you see me on Instagram or Facebook with Ibanez RG550 or BC Rich V. That's bought and paid for, but I also don't have shoes that don't have holes in them. You know, I have one pair of jeans.
Yeah, right.
Like, I sacrifice a lot of shit.
Priorities.
Yep. That's the fucking thing. So I have like a couple more questions for you before we end this. I could talk to you for hours. You're pretty much just like me, man. We're the same age, like the same shit. This is awesome.
Yeah.
So first thing, so with your pedals and like you said, not having a website.
Yeah. You've
been contacted by various like heavy hitting fucking people to make like the D-book.
Yeah.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. So obviously you made it for Sammy. It's Sammy's signature. You made a custom one for Gary Holt.
Yes.
And am I mistaken that Tom G. Warrior has one?
I have not shipped his yet, but yes, he has one.
Fucking knew it. I saw that. I saw the symbol on that. I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah. So when I finished, I'm still here. When I finished his, that was when shipping was so messed up from the holidays and the weather and stuff. And Sammy and I both felt like, no, let's wait. So I haven't shipped it yet because I have something else that I'm working on for him. But yeah.
God, that is so fucking cool.
It's when I found out about it, I was at work and I literally started crying. Like crying like like you envision a 13-year-old girl with a crush, like super excited. Like that was a joy I haven't felt in a long time. Because, you talk about heroes and you talk about legends, and then there's Tom Fisher.
Yeah.
Like, it's a trip.
Like,
yes, I have built one for him.
I would be with the Sammy one, I would have been fucking super meticulous, but with building one for fucking Tom Warrior, I would have just been like, okay, everything's got to be fucking perfect, you know?
Yeah. That's how I build everything.
I've noticed the craftsmanship is fucking amazing.
And that's like, I spend the same time and I put the same, honestly, like love and care into every single pedal, whether it's for Tom Warrior or someone that just found me on Instagram or Facebook. Like everyone, like the way I approach it, I still build these for me.
Yep.
Myself. And, which means I have to do it to the best of my ability.
And the ones I've played because Paul from Gorgatron, Paul Johnson, he's my gym partner and one of my best friends.
He's a great dude.
I've played the two pedals you've made for him, and they're fucking awesome. And when I get money, I'm buying some fucking pedals from you. Believe me.
Well, I will be more than happy to make that happen.
Fucking A, man. And the thing I love, especially like your Instagram and your Facebook posts, is whenever someone buys a pedal and you sign the inside of it, and you just have the pictures, the little write-ups you give for everyone are just pure fucking gold. They're pure fucking gold, man.
And that again was just something that I have always done for myself. Like because I didn't know what to say. And I'll be damned if I'm going to take myself too seriously. And so, yeah, I just go into sort of a flow state and just start writing. And sometimes the stuff is kind of funny and it makes me laugh. And sometimes it's not so funny, but I feel like it's worth keeping. And yeah, so, yeah, and that was another thing, like when people order, I've had a number of people be like, now you're going to make a post with mine, right? I'm like, well, yeah, but that's, I mean, I don't know. It's weird to see people get excited about that part of it too, but
everyone likes a shout out, man. Everyone loves a shout out online. I mean, and
that's true. I never thought about it that way.
And like I said, when I meant every fucking word when I said the fucking pedal builder to the stars. In the gear world, man, you're getting up there in name. I mean, the underground fucking folks love your shit.
And I know I probably sound like a broken record, but it's honestly hard for me to believe. It really is. Because I'm just some dude that's very nerdy about this stuff. And was very lucky to meet some really kind guys that liked the stuff and introduced me to other people who introduced me to other people. And I mean, it's all been word of mouth, and I just can't believe it.
And
I'm really thankful and humbled by it. It's so cool. I mean, it's literally a dream of mine. Like, my wife can attest to that. Like, this is something that I talked to her about before I even started building.
Mm-hmm.
When we were, I would have been about 21, and I'm 40 now. There's a few people that I know will probably never happen. But there's a few names I would love to be able to cross off my list. Just to personally, like, give something to them. Trey from Morbid Angel is pretty fucking high. That
doesn't seem that that hard. I think it'd be doable.
It's, if you Kevin Bacon it, since I've built for Rutan, it's possible, but also being such a huge Trey fanboy, like, I know his rig really hasn't changed in over 25 years. So the need for something of mine is probably not there. So, but I'm also kind of pessimistic about this shit. So.
Well, if I ever run into Trey, man, I'm gonna push that.
I appreciate you, man.
I don't know how often I'll see him here in fucking Moorhead, Minnesota, but when next time I go to Florida. But no, that's a very doable fucking dream, man. I mean, honestly. Yeah,
like, it's weird to me to be able to say, like, 1 year ago, who would I have said? Who are some dudes I would have loved to have built? And 1 year later, like, it doesn't make sense to me, but it's happening, so I'm rolling with it.
And it's the same thing with this YouTube series I'm doing. I didn't think 4 months ago that I could get, Kyle from X-Hoarder or, Sammy to sit down and fucking talk with me. And I got you on here now, so you're in that list of the big boys in my eyes.
Well, I appreciate that. I certainly do not view myself or think of myself as that way. But it's super cool just to get to talk to people that nerd out on this shit.
Yeah.
Like, it's just the funnest.
And, whether 5 people watch an episode of mine or 500 or whatever, as long as, if one person enjoys it, then I get everything I wanted out of it. And to spread the word about things people may not know about, the underground bands, or, oh shit, I didn't know fucking Sammy had that going on, or I didn't know Kyle had that going on. Just cool shit.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So my last thing to ask you before we leave is, as you said, there's no website. So how can people get a hold of you, and what would be like the turnaround time from ordering a pedal?
Yeah. So most frequently, people just find me on Instagram and message me, or Facebook. And I'm, through Facebook, it's just my personal account, which is Michael Klein.
Okay.
I think my profile picture is Skeletor, if you're looking. And then on Instagram, it's Klein, which is spelled like the underwear, Klein .michael.w, and just message me. As far as how long it takes, right now I'm right around 6 weeks.
Okay.
I do everything by hand, one by one. And when we released Sammy's pedal, that really increased the orders. So
That's good.
I'm not. Yeah, that's been amazing. That far exceeded either of our hopes or expectations. We've been pretty stoked. So yeah, it's taken me longer than I would like, but everyone has been super cool and understanding about it. So, which helps it stay totally fun. So yeah, it's about 6 weeks. I'm trying to get that cut down, but orders keep coming in, so it's harder to make big steps on that. So, but I think 6 weeks isn't too bad. I remember back in the day, I waited like fucking 2 years for an Analog Man pedal. So I think 6 weeks is reasonable, but I know a lot of people, and understandably so, want their stuff now, but that I can't do that.
When it comes to custom guitar gear or guitar gear done right, you're gonna have to wait time. There's a wait time for it. I mean, with pedals, especially with guitars. I mean, 18 months for a custom Jackson.
Right.
So.
Yeah, that's true. Now, obviously, I don't have the clout or street name of Jackson or BC Rich, but yeah, I think by hand stuff takes time.
It does.
And the same friend I've mentioned, Tim, helps me out immensely with my graphics. So when someone wants something special, one I was just working on here, I don't know how well you'll be able to see it, but this guy wanted a Ghostbusters themed Lonely Ghost.
Oh.
So he helped me with that. So he helps with the graphics. I use a small business in Indiana that laser engraves all my plates.
Okay.
But other than that, it's really just kind of me working on these. So it takes, and I have kind of high expectations of myself and how the pedals turn out. So it takes me time to do it. And
you are your best quality control. I mean, the guy who building the pedals, if he says it's good, it's going to be fucking good.
Yeah, and it makes it easier because I customize so much stuff, including customizing the circuits and the voicing and stuff like that if someone wants it. So there's no way that can be done if anyone else is building them.
No.
So it's just, it's easier and it's more fun this way.
Fantastic. Michael, thank you so much for talking with me. Like I said,
thank you.
It was a fucking blast just shooting the shit, and I'm guarantee I'm going to bother you on Facebook more because, like I said, you're cool fucking
Anytime.
Shit. So
anytime. I appreciate it.
Any last words you want to say before we take off?
I would encourage people to listen to the band on your hat. I wish they got more interest. God damn it.
They're my boys.
And I also think people need to listen to more Deicide.
Valid. I'll fucking definitely give you that one, man.
That that's a death metal band that's been around for a long time. That I think because of Glenn's antics doesn't get taken seriously. But man, like
they're fucking great.
Those albums, like, come on, like, well, why aren't we worshiping Deicide more?
Quick Deicide story before we go. The last time we saw them at a small fucking bar in Minneapolis, my girlfriend wanted a picture with Glenn, and he was in the bar, and I'm like, hey, Glenn, will you take a picture with my girlfriend? He's like, ah, totally. So I'm there with the camera, and as they're about to, like, do the pose, he leans back, looks at her ass, and he's like, mm-hmm. I'm like, really?
Why does that not surprise me?
Fucking classic Glenn Benton moment, man. All right, Michael, thank you very much. You have a fantastic night, and I will talk to you soon, all right, buddy?
Sounds good, dude. Take care, man.
I'd like to thank Michael Klein for taking the time to talk to me and kind of just discuss the ins and outs of pedal making and pedal building, I should say. I am a huge fan of guitar gear. I don't know how any of it works. I just know how to play it, kind of. So I don't fucking know. But he's super fucking talented dude. Makes great shit for people like Sammy Douay, Gary Holt, fucking Tom G. Warrior is getting a pedal from this guy. That's fucking amazing. So, Michael, thank you. You're the fucking man. I cannot wait to have one of these in my arsenal as well. The Lonely Ghost and the D-Book, D-Book, whatever. Moving on to the end of the show. Troglodyte. Fucking extreme death metal band from Independence, Missouri. Fucking love these guys. Crippled Foot Cast. As always, if you like the show, please share it. Please subscribe. Spread the word. Support underground metal. That's all I'm trying to do here. Support Cannibal Carlton. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate you watching the show. Like I said, like and share if you enjoy it. And I'll see you guys next time. Support the underground. Support the underground.